was like, so why didn't you guys tell me that my apartment, that 3 kids that lived in my apartment passed away? And, you know, why y'all didn't tell me that?
Pimping got him. My bad. My pimping got you hooked. My bad. I'm sorry. My pimping got...
Back to my channel. It's your girl Codenamechanel, and I'm back. But clearly I'm back with the story time. Now, disclaimer on this story time, it is disturbing, trigger warnings, just everything before watching this. Like, I'm serious. Like, I never do this on my videos, but like, so yeah. So let's take it. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. This is the Finesse family, but I also do story times. Literally one of my favorite things to do. I always wanted to be a story time YouTuber, so here I am. But yeah, and if you're a returning subscriber, then you know it's all love. It's always gonna be love. Thank you guys so much. Right into it. I lived in a haunted house, apartment, whatever you want to call it. So I'm originally from California. I moved to Texas in 2015. October 31st of 2015, I moved to Texas. So I moved to Texas on Halloween. How spooky, right? How spooky. I think this year will be 6 years of me in Texas. About 6 years of me in Texas. So I've been in Texas for a while now. Dang, I'm practically a Texan. Anyway, so when I moved to Texas, I have a story time on how I moved to Texas, basically with no money like that. And where I never really got to talk about how crazy my experience was. It was pretty ghetto, but I never really got to like talk about it, like all the details on what happened. So I moved into MacArthur Place at 183, and it's in Dallas, so you know, you guys can look it up or whatever. Everything I'm about to say in the story time is from me. It's accurate, it's facts, this is my story, what happened to me, and going from that. So when I first moved to Texas, which was October 31st, I was told by MacArthur Place that the apartment wasn't ready. So I ended up booking a hotel for like a week or so. Well, I ended up getting a hotel for a week or so, but that's a whole different story. So when I finally got to see the apartment after a week, I walk in, there's like roach, feces. So you can't even say feces. There's like dead roaches everywhere.
Oh no, ma'am. Oh no, ma'am. No, ma'am.
It was pretty crazy. It was pretty ghetto. Like, I mean, it was the craziest, one of the crazy experiences of my life. It was like, it didn't look like it was cleaned. And I had signed a year lease. So I am, you know, coming from where I was living at was really nice. And at the time, I was married and I had a really nice home with my ex-husband, and I just looking at this and like, you know, wanting a fresh start, because I moved to Dallas for a fresh start. I have a story time on that in my marriage or whatever when I was married, but I moved to Dallas for a fresh start. So when I got into the apartment and I saw that it was just like horrible, I immediately went to the office. Like I like booked out of the apartment. I ran to the office and I started like, it wasn't like yelling, like, you know, like mad, like aggressive. It was, I was shocked. That's what we'll say what it was. Like, I was more so shocked. I was like, you sure that's the apartment? There's roaches or whatever. I called my brother. I was crying. I called my older brother and I was crying and stuff like that. And I called them and the lady's like, well, the best we could do is give you, we can cut the lease that you signed. So you signed a year lease. We can cut it to like 5 or 6 months. I'm not really sure. So I was like, okay, that'll work, like, you know, for now. So that means like I have 5 months to look for something else. Keep in mind, I've only been to Dallas prior one time. I knew 0 people in Dallas. Cannot make this up. So I didn't know anybody. So, you know, this kind of shaking my experience about Dallas or whatever. And I was kind of just like, you know, upset. So when I moved into the apartment, I was by myself until my older brother came to live with me. And I basically like begged him to come live with me, and he did. But it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a loft. So it was a huge apartment. I'm not sure what the square footage is, but it was massive. Like the living room, the ceilings, everything. It was a pretty huge apartment. It was basically like a 3-bedroom. And when I first moved in, I got the room upstairs and I got the loft too. So then downstairs was the living room. Then there was the bathroom down there. There was a huge room downstairs. That's the room my brother ended up getting. Anyway, but before my brother was able to move in, you know, I'm like getting the place together or whatever. and whatnot. And I'm already knowing, like, I do not like this place. First off, it's creepy. It's creepy. It's creepy. I didn't like it at all. So I would hear noises all the time, and it would just be like crazy, like crawling noises, right? So one day I opened the closet because I was scared to go into the closet. So this is like, I've only been in the apartment for maybe like a week. I'm scared to go into the closet. So I opened the closet one day, and I started seeing like paintings and stuff like on the wall, like little like writing and things like that. So it was like little kid art. That's what I saw it as, like, you know, little kids maybe drawing crayons or whatever. So it's like, dang, y'all didn't do nothing. Y'all didn't paint over none of this stuff or whatever. So I ended up getting some paint. And when my brother came, me and him both painted over because it was a lot of crayon and stuff like on the wall and stuff like that. So I could tell that the loft area was where the like if there was kids living in the house, they lived in the loft area, right? So this story is so intense, you guys. Y'all not even gonna believe what I'm about to tell you guys. So when my brother came or whatever, he started telling me stuff too, like the apartment was haunted, and just the same thing, like he would hear noises, we would hear footsteps. Like I always would hear something. So at night I started hearing like scratching on the door. This is the front door or whatever, right? And I'm always hearing scratching or whatever, right? So I'm like, where is all the scratching coming from? That was happening for weeks. So I called the office. I'm like, look, this might sound crazy, but I'm always hearing scratching on the door. They're like, it could be animals. Them saying it could be animals did nothing for me. Like, I don't want animals coming and scratching on the door all the time. Like, that did, like, that really blew my fucking mind when they said that. But nevertheless.
Life could be worse. No, not really. This is the worst.
This is the worst.
So one day, my brother leaves the door open when he goes to work, and like a cat comes in, and basically literally was scared to go in the kitchen because roaches. And y'all, it was a horror story. So the cat is in the house, I won't say a few days, maybe like a day. So I'm telling my brother, I'm like, I'm hearing a meow, okay? I'm hearing a damn meow. And we go into the kitchen and we open like the bottom cabinet, and we see the cat. And then at this point, I'm just done. I'm like, I'm getting a hotel. I don't have time. I don't have time for cats like popping up like that whole, like, what? What? And then people probably think like, okay, so you never go in the kitchen. I don't cook. I don't be in the kitchen. Like, I eat, I take out, actually I was in them streets too. I'm not gonna lie. When I first moved to Texas, I was like, I was outside. So I really was not in the house like that. And then on top of that, the house was haunted. So I wasn't there. So yes, the cat was there at least for 24 hours. Anyway, so the next thing that happened that was super bizarre and weird and crazy was scratching at the door. We're assuming it's a cat, right? We're assuming that's the scratching at the door, whatever. So then we keep on hearing scratching at the door. We're like, oh my God, like it was the cat or whatever. So we're like, should we call like, who can we call? Can we call animal control? Whatever the case is. But, finally we figure out what the scratching at the door is. It's a dog. It's a dog. Yeah, we literally, it's literally like, it's literally Jurassic Park around this bitch. Because it's literally a dog. So the dog is, oh my God. Okay, I'm going to try not to cry on this part. But every time I talk about this to my older brother, I'm about to cry. So the dog was the cutest little dog. I don't know what type of dog it was, but it was the cutest little dog. And at the time, I was fed up. Okay, so dog lovers, PETA, don't come after me because I ain't got time. I don't got time for y'all because I'm a step about me. Animal lover at all. Like, I'm not like a huge animal lover, but I will say that I do appreciate dogs because our animals in general, because they have to deal with humans. And when I saw the dog, it was super cute. In the back of my mind, I'm like, this dog is fucking adorable. But I was so mad at the complex for not, they just weren't attentive. I was so mad at like my living situation and stuff like that. And again, like, you guys, I'm not gonna lie. Look, I'm gonna tell you that. Like, I'm from the hood. I'm from the ghetto. So, I lived in situations like that. Like, sometimes, like, coming from where I came from, like, I came so far. I always lived in nice complex. So yeah, growing up, I was po. But, I always lived adult life. I've always lived somewhere nice. So this kind of took me back to my childhood, and it was not fun. So my brother wanted to keep the dog because the dog kept coming back, and that was who was scratching on the door at nighttime. And so I ended up calling pet control or animal control or whatever so that they could remove the dog. My brother was pissed at me because he's like, why did you do that? But I was just mad at the world and I wanted the dog gone, and they took the dog. And you know what? So that I can sleep better at night, I know because that dog was cute as fuck and adorable and little and adorable that the pet control took it to a better place. Okay? Period, point blank. All right? I don't want to hear anybody say, what if they... No. That dog was adoptable. Somebody adopted the dog. Anyway, moving along. Here's where it really gets weird, you guys. So, I parked my... so, basically, at this point, the complex is haunted. Because I parked my car. I went out of town. Me and my brother went out of town. I parked my car. And I parked it in my parking space. I had a assigned parking space, or I just had a space where I always parked in front of my car or whatever. I mean, in front of my apartment. So, I parked my car there. I came back and I saw that my car was moved. So I ended up knocking on my next door neighbor's house. I'm like, where the fuck is my car? Like, where could it be I moved at? You know, did they tow it? But I knocked on and I'm like, do you know? Because at the time I had a Challenger, and I'm like, and I described my car, and she was like, yeah, someone drove it, and you know, I thought you drove it and moved it. She's like, it's on the other side parked by my car. So I'm like, drove it in. Who would have drove my car? Like, literally, y'all, I have the keys. My brother is the only other person in Texas I know who moved my car. Like, I cannot make this up, you guys. My whole car was moved. So I'm thinking maybe it got towed because, like, you know, it was in like a parking space and like they needed to paint or something like that. So I asked the complex. They said no or whatever. So anyway, y'all, because this story, y'all not even ready. Y'all not ready because y'all really not ready for this story. So anyway, like, when I tell y'all not even ready for this story, that y'all think that y'all know what's about to happen, but y'all don't know. So I'm like telling her, I knocked back on her door and I'm like, you sure you seen somebody get in my car and move it? And she's like, yeah, they look like a teenager. And I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. So then I started telling her basically all the stuff that's been happening. And I thought she was gonna look at me like I'm crazy. So she tells me, this is what my next door neighbor tells me, that the dog that was coming to my house actually belonged, or sort of belonged to the family before. It was a stray that always came to that house because the kids would feed the dog, right? So I'm like, you know what? Like, it made me feel even worse about the situation. Y'all, I'm about to cry because this story is... Anyway, this is what she's telling me. She's like, hey, like, you know, they used to feed the dog, but she's like, you know, it's horrible what happened to that family. And I'm just like, what happened to them? Like, what's horrible that happened to them? And she's like, she said 3 of the kids died. And again, I don't know, I guess I'll attach the news article to the post, and I think there's a YouTube video as well, but let me just get to the point. She's like, 3 of the kids died, and I'm like, what? Like, what? And I was like, did they live here? Like, I'm just confused. Like, she said they lived here. I'm like, how did they die? So she starts explaining to me the story. July 2015, 5 kids went to the pool with their mom. And the pool, I guess the pool was shallow. It was deep. I don't think it was cleaned. 3 of the kids were in the pool. 3 of them drifted off to the higher end of the pool and ended up drowning, and only the kids and the mother was there. 3 of the kids ended up dying. It was, I think it's 2 boys and 1 girl. I mean, so you know, I guess I don't know how to, I don't think the word is naive to describe it, but I went to the office and I mean, I thought they would be open and honest with me. Like, I had so many questions, you know. I had so many questions for her. Like, my mind is racing right now because I remember being told this and thinking, like, this can't be real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this can't be true. And I know the office was getting tired of me coming back and forth because it'd be the same lady. It'd be the same lady that would get an attitude with me. You know what I'm saying? So she comes back, she sees me coming in and she has this, here she go again. You know what I'm saying? Like, here Chanel go again, right? So I was like, so why didn't you guys tell me that my apartment, that 3 kids that lived in my apartment passed away? And, you know, why y'all didn't tell me this? And they're like, well, we don't have to tell you that. Legally, we don't have to tell you anything. And no one passed away in your apartment. But I'm like, well, they drowned in that pool. And she was like, we don't have to tell you that. That's all public information that you can basically Google. And I was like, so did they live in my apartment? And she's like, I can't give you information off of somebody who lived in your apartment before. But it's so crazy because first off, I lived in California. I was able to get this apartment so freaking fast. But also I was able to get other apartments too, because I applied for an apartment in Atlanta too. And I was able, and I applied for another apartment in Dallas. But I went with this one because it was cheaper. But nevertheless, so I was able to get this apartment. So I was like, this apartment clearly was on the market for a long time. And like, y'all, it was just, okay, so I had all these questions, just like you guys have all these questions. So I start researching articles, everything, and I'm trying to make sure, like, do these people, did this family actually live in this apartment? But, you know, like I said, I seen kids drawing in the closet. It was a huge apartment. Like I said, y'all, it was a huge apartment, way too big for 2 people. I mean, I could definitely see a family living in this apartment. It technically, like I said, was a 3-bedroom. So it was 1 room, 2 rooms at the top, sorry, and then 1 room at the bottom. So I could see that. It was just like, you know, the dog situation, how the dog kept coming back. And then just finding out that, I mean, these apartments, like, I mean, a lot of people blame the mom. Like, you guys make your own assumption over there. I won't really go into all the details, what happened and the controversy that happened with her. But keep in mind, this happened July 2015. I moved to MacArthur Place October 2015. So a few months after it had happened. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was, I can't say for sure if that was the apartment. But what I can say is that's what she told me. That's what my neighbor told me. And she was like, you know, she told me as a matter of fact, like, oh, you didn't know. And then my car being moved, like, let's just say that I made that up and that didn't happen or whatever. But like the sounds I would always hear, and like, it was just, I mean, I mean, it was a pretty, okay, probably are the craziest things that ever happened to me. Like, RIP to those kids. Like, I mean, it's just sad. Like, the whole situation is sad. Like I said, that's why I can't say, like, I always thought, I'm so emotional about this story, because anybody that knows me, my family, friends, that, you know, I was just, first off, I was distraught after I heard the news even more. But about the time that I heard the news, the time that I finally was told that that family allegedly, sorry, let me say allegedly, lived in that apartment that I was in, my lease was already basically up, and I had found a new apartment, which ended up being one of my favorite apartments I ever lived in. Crazy thing is, I live like probably 45 minutes away from that apartment that I used to live in. But I passed by there the other day. Me and my sisters passed by, and she was like, isn't that the haunted house you used to live in? Because, like, yeah, everybody knew that it was haunted. Like, it was pretty crazy. But like I said, RIP to those kids. That's just crazy. And, you know, I mean, I'm gonna tell y'all, after that I had found out that those kids had died and they allegedly, the family lived in the apartment that I was renting. Yeah, after I found out that they allegedly lived there, I don't know if but I wanted to get out of there even more. I'm not gonna lie to you. It wasn't like, oh my God, I finally know the truth, everything's good. Like, no, I wanted to leave just as fucking bad. I wanted to go. Another thing too that I would say, like, even if that wasn't the apartment that they lived in, the apartment complex is haunted. The fire department, from what the articles that I was reading, the fire department, it took them a while to find those kids in that pool because the pool was so damn dirty. And yeah, fuck that apartment complex, period, point blank. A lot of people, like I said, y'all can make your own assumptions. A lot of people blame the mother, but the kids were failed in plenty of ways. That apartment complex, like I said, my experience with them was horrible. Besides the apartment being haunted, so, you know, it is what it is. But everybody, you know, make up your own assumptions about that. That's just my little haunted story. That's just one of the, crazy. I don't even know what I'm gonna name this story time, but yeah, this is pretty much it for this story time. Thank you guys for watching. This is something totally different. Let me know if y'all want me to do more like little intense story times like this. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Follow me on Instagram, Codenamechanel, Snapchat, Chanel Kid Herb. You can join my Patreon. And then, you know, that's pretty much it. And I'm out, and I'm really sad about this story time, but I'm out. I guess I'm out. Bye.